Hello. I'm not quite sure where to look. Hello. Welcome, students of RIT 201, to the last 5 weeks, spring semester 2020. Crazy times. I'm reporting from my home office here in Bozeman, about, 10 or 11 blocks from where we meet as a class, or where we were meeting. Today is March 24th. It's snowing outside. It's a beautiful day. And I hope this day finds you as well as can be. This is the first of a series of sort of what you might call micro lessons that I plan to record and make available to you so that we can stay in touch with details, lessons, and whatnot. Just for the next couple of minutes, I want to touch base with our good friend, St. Augustine. I'm not leaving this book behind, and I hope you aren't either, because there's a lot to learn from Augustine in two major ways. One is we can learn from him how to confront being a human being, and how to be introspective, how to be patient with ourselves, and to be steadfast in looking into ourselves and not freaking out and being afraid and stopping in our act of looking into ourselves and trying to find out the truth about our being. I mean the word being as in the second word of the phrase human being. Investigating being is something that Augustine is very good at doing. In terms of his courage, you might not share his belief system, but you can still appreciate what he's doing, because what it's doing, with or without the Catholic language, is sort of boldly going into his psyche and seeing what's there. Also, the second way that we can appreciate him is he's a very gifted writer. He uses language exceedingly well. He chooses words that have emotional associations and also are packed with meaning. Words that he can play with in book 1, and then again in book 2, and then again in book 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And as he uses these words, the nuances start to add up. You see the word food in a slightly different light from book 1, taking it up through books 2 to 4, all the way to book 8, where we end. This is what is called a motif. I know that's probably backwards for you. Motif, which just means a repeated figure in a design. Like in a carpet, you might see little curly cues being repeated over and over again. You do the same thing with language. You take a word, like for Augustine, he takes the word turn and return. He takes the word food, and how does the word food relate to God? God as food, God as soul food. He's very concerned with the dynamic of human pride and its flip side, humility. So humility and pride are words that get used over and over. Of course, turning, I've mentioned to you before, turning is a very important verb in Augustine, because what he means by turning is, where do you turn your eyes? Where do you turn the eyes of your soul? What are you paying attention to? Where is your heart? And then, of course, confession, and confession as a mode of making statements about what you see, about being honest with what you see, about praying to the greater essence of life, the higher power, whatever it might be. So motifs, something that we can learn from Augustine, something that you can use in your own writing. I'm certain that your life has motifs in it, because all of us have repeated memories that we go back to, images from our past, maybe dreams that are repeated. We have thoughts that recur in our mind. We have conflicts that we deal with over and over again in ourselves, that we're trying to transcend and to deal with as human beings. life itself is cyclical and full of patterns and is on a big circle, and so what goes around comes around. I believe that all of us, if we look hard, will find the motifs in our life, and we can use language to describe those, and that's one thing that you can learn from Augustine. Let me just go to one bit of Book 5. Augustine is about 20 some odd years of age. I think he's 29. He's leaving Carthage, where he has been joined by his mother. He's leaving Carthage to go to Rome. He's going to Rome because he wants to become a star of rhetoric and speechwriter and orator for the emperor of the empire. So he's going to Rome out of personal ambition, and his mother, of course, is fearing for his soul because he's been ill before in his life and he hasn't been saved yet, and he's about to leave her, and she's clinging to him, and he's going to Rome, and he wants to become this major personage, and it's nighttime. He's going to take a night ship from Carthage, passage over sea to Rome. She wept bitterly to see me go and followed me to the water's edge, clinging to me with all her strength in the hope that I would either come home or take her with me. I deceived her with the excuse that I had a friend whom I did not want to leave until the wind rose and his ship would sail. It was a lie, told to my own mother, and to such a mother, too. But you did not punish me for it because you forgave me this sin also when, in your mercy, you kept me safe from the waters of the sea, laden though I was with detestable impurities, and preserved me to receive the water of your grace. This was the water that would wash me clean, and halt the flood of tears with which my mother daily watered the ground as she bowed her head, praying to you for me. Just beautiful use of the word water, which of course is an elemental substance and has so many associations that readers will automatically have some way of feeling close to that word. He goes on, but she would not go home without me, and it was all I could do to persuade her to stay that night in a shrine dedicated to Saint Cyprian not far from the ship. During the night, secretly, I sailed away, leaving her alone to her tears and her prayers. And what did she beg of you, my God, with all those tears? If not that you would prevent me from sailing. But you did not do as she asked you then. Instead, in the depth of your wisdom, you granted the wish that was closest to her heart. You did with me what she had always asked you to do. The wind blew and filled our sails, and the shore disappeared from sight. The next morning she was wild with grief, pouring her sighs and sorrows in your ear because she thought you had not listened to her prayer. But you were letting my own desires carry me away on a journey that was to put an end to those same desires. And you use her too jealous love for her son as a scourge of sorrow for her just punishment. Now we move into this word desire, something that we can all relate to. This is a word that gets repeated numerous times, and then sorrow. For as mothers do, and far more than most, she loved to have her with me, and she did not know what joys you had in store for her because of my departure. It was because she did not know this that she wept and wailed, and the torments which she suffered were proof that she had inherited the legacy of Eve, seeking in sorrow what with sorrow she had brought into the world. But at last she ceased upbraiding me for my deceit and my cruelty, and turned again to you to offer her prayers for me. She went back to her house, and I went on to Rome. And the last verb, or second to last verb there, was turn. This is a word that Augustine returns to over and over, turning and returning. Think about motifs. Think about yours. And what are they? Write in your daily writing journal. I'll talk to you later.